Welcome to Tell Me How Good It Got. The stories of women who defied the rules and ditched the script for what life's supposed to look and came out healthier, happier, hotter, and more themselves. I'm your host, Majo Torelli, Oxford grad and somatic coach. And today I'm so excited to have with me JJ DiGeronimo, a former tech executive turned author, speaker, and women's empowerment guide. JJ helps accomplished women pause the hustle, realign with their purpose, and reconnect with their inner wisdom through her books, retreats, and community. Together we seek. Welcome, JJ.
Hello. I'm so happy to join you here, and I'm so proud of you. What an amazing platform.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you as one of my very first guests. And I would love to know, JJ. I know a little bit about your background. And my first question to you is just I know you ditched the script that said success only comes in a certain way, in a certain form, with lots of titles, big salaries, and the corner office. Who were you back then? And tell us a little bit about who that woman was and your story.
I was definitely striving. I was striving to get to that next level. I was striving to get that acknowledgement, that title. I wanted to do a great job in the job that I was in, but I always wanted to position myself for that next step. And what I realized in my 40s is that, there's always going to be that carrot. And even in the moments that you're supposed to be celebrating and really cherishing sort of the accomplishments that you've had, it seems like there was always something else to do. And I think I didn't really realize that until my 40s because I was hustling most of my career. I grew up with very little. I ended up getting into a computer science degree. I ended up working in different tech roles, and I eventually made my way out to Silicon Valley, which I loved every step of the way. I thought it was exhilarating. I loved the people. I loved the projects and the opportunity. But there came a point in my career where I just was tired and I was like, is this it? Is it just like every day we get up and just push and grind and drive towards that next level of accomplishment? And I feel like things started happening in my personal life that sort of started pulling the rug out underneath me in different ways. And I started asking myself, like, is this it? Is this what I'm going to be doing for the next 40 years? Is this fulfilling me? Do I want to be doing this? And I think for me, that was really the beginning of the seeking.
Wow. And was there a specific point? I know these things are usually kind of gradual, but was there like a point where you said, okay, I cannot be doing this for another 40 years for real?
I think we all hit crossroads. When people start to kind of turn in the direction where they're seeking within, there generally is a crossroads. What I generally see is, people get divorced, they lose a family member, they lose their job. Something happens in their life that they're emotionally attached to, and I was no different. And that was the time where I really was like, what else is there? What else is there? And I if I was really honest, I would say that I didn't really cherish myself or love myself. I only appreciated myself when I hit metrics or defined milestones that I thought were worthy. And so I had a lot of work to do.
How did you even realize that?
Yeah, so my dad was sick. I did not get a big project, I thought, and I had some cracks in my marriage. And I feel like it all sort of happened in the same 4 weeks. And I think at that point, I really was like, where am I? What am I doing? Do I need to shift my life? I didn't really know what to do. I was like, I just was at the point where I was like, I felt like let down in a couple different areas. And I just felt like I needed to figure out who I was. And I turned to a metaphysical place here in Cleveland where I live. And I ended up going to a class that I wasn't even registered for, mostly because I just knew I needed a shift. And the only thing I could do was to shift my energy.
Shift your energy. And that was like an intuition, or what did that even mean back then to you? Were you already a spiritual person, or how did this come, this nudge that I have to shift my energy?
It's a great question. And it's funny because my mom and her sisters used to go to Lilydale, which is a spiritual community in upstate New York. And I just remember them saying, if you don't know what to do, or you could turn and, meet with a medium or an astrologer. And I just was like, all right, I have to go back to what I was taught to do. And I think that was sort of ingrained in me at an early age, even though I really didn't tap into it for the last 15, 20 years, it was the only place I really know where to turn was to go to people that were enlightened or connected in a way that I wasn't. And that was really the beginning of my seeking.
Oh, wow. And how did that start to unfold? So you had the nudge and you followed it. What was the first thing? Why did you do it first?
Yeah, so I ended up in this class and the teacher it was funny because I just said, I'll just drive there. I'll just drive there. And then once I got to the parking lot, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go inside. And my ego was like, no, 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 no. My body knew I needed it. Like I knew I needed a spark plug. I knew I needed something that was different than what I knew. And that teacher that let me into the class that night, she was so Peggy, she was so nice. She was like, I taught to her a little bit after class and she's like, I think you could benefit from a one-on-one session with me. She was previously an accountant and then she moved into
Oh,
tapping, EFT, drumming, and she was really my first practitioner I met with to help me move energy. And then she recommended somebody and then recommended somebody else and I found somebody else. And over a series of years, I've probably met with over 100 different practitioners. And I talk
wow.
to women about, really turning within to get the wisdom, knowledge, and alignment that many of us are seeking outside of us.
And at what point or how do you started realizing you were starting to live in this wisdom or you were starting to do things differently?
Hmm. It was a process. Nothing happened overnight. I had to really dig into my stories, the stories I collected in this lifetime and others. I talk a lot about this about book seeking because I had to deal with my money stories, my perfectionist stories, the relationship I had with my mother, the way I perceived myself, my own self doubts. And I feel like it was a process. And I love the energy workers, healers, and mystics that I've worked with over the last decade. I share them with everybody I know because I feel like they're placed on the planet to help us let go and create space and illuminate our path ahead. And many of us think we have to do it on our own. And I feel like my mess turned into my message, as my friend Veronica Drake would say.
I love that quote so much. My mess turned into my message. I can so relate to that as well. I love that, JJ. And you are already at the point where you are using this to help others, right? But that's not how you started. It was just, let's figure out, did that for myself. At what point did it become something like, I need to share this with the world?
Yeah, great question. So I started this in 2016, and in probably 2017, I got a whisper, I call it, like a little intuition hit to
Mm.
treat for women. I was working with women in different corporations. Even though I had a tech degree for a long time, I started writing books for women in business and I would speak at a lot of women's events. And I noticed a lot of women were like living outside their body. It was like almost like they had their body and then there was a silhouette sitting next to them.
Mm.
As I was leaving stage one day, I was told an idea popped in my head, a whisper to bring the women outside. They were all hustling on to their next event. We were at a big conference center and I was like, what? No, I'm not doing that. And I just dismissed it. And that whisper came back several times in 2017. And I ended up meeting with another energy worker, healer, Dora, on the phone. And I said, Dora, I keep getting this message. And she's like, what does it mean to you? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, yes, you do. And we sat and talked about it. And I decided I was going to put together my first retreat. Now, I had never been to a retreat, but I knew that women needed to get outside and be in nature, connect with their inner self, like let go of the stories. There's all the work I was doing behind closed doors, really wasn't talking about yet. And I organized my first retreat in 2018 and I invited Peggy, my first healer, come to the retreat along with an iridologist and others. And since then, I've 10 retreats for women. And it really is reminding women of the wisdom within. And I feel like my own journey has been tool to have the confidence to prove to us women that there is more than meets the eye. We are living in a very masculine environment. And we have
Yeah.
this inner wisdom we really haven't tapped into yet in the full capacity. And so my work really now is sharing tools and techniques that help women find that inner wisdom, tap into it, illuminate their gifts so that they can do the work they committed to do before they came down to the planet.
Well, that even gives me chills. I find that so enlightening and aligned with my own work and my own brand. She's embodied. And well, I have many questions right now, but I'm going to start with the first one that comes. How do you recognize those whispers? What is intuition for you in your words? I find that when I was a woman very much in my head back in my all my 20s and very disembodied, it was one of the most difficult things and also annoying things that I ever, people always tell you like trust your gut and just follow your gut. And it was so difficult. It's like, how do you even do that? So for anyone listening who's disconnected from herself and doesn't have a clue where to start, how to start, what is that for you?
So I think the first thing is you have to work to be in the present moment. We are often taught to be in the future or reflect on the past. And so I really had to work on being in the present moment. And the way that I did it was having gratitude. So I would go through my day just thinking about getting up in the morning, right? When I first put my feet on the ground, like I'm so happy I can walk and I can get out of bed and I have a sink to brush my teeth and I have hot coffee to drink. And I have a job to go to or I have work to do. I feel like I really started practicing being in the present moment by acknowledging all the good that I have. And by being in the present moment, you are more aware to see how your body feels for a certain situation, or you are more present to just kind of let your mind allow it to just move on. I had to take some mindfulness classes that really kind of taught me how to pay attention to the chatter in my head all the time. I used to be way too focused on the mind chatter that really often impacted my actions. So, in addition to having gratitude, I took mindfulness training. And in those two tools that I added to my toolkit, I was able to be in the present moment in a way that I could hear things that would bubble up that I knew weren't fear based. They were often suggestions, things to explore, and my initial response to many of them, whether it's writing a book, hosting a retreat, leaning into a new podcast, is my ego will often quickly say, no, not now. No, you're not ready. Are you afraid? You're going to make a fool of yourself. And so I've learned to recognize that oftentimes when I do get these whispers that bubble up, that my ego will jump all over them. But I wouldn't notice that if I wasn't in the present moment. And so the practice in the present moment is the first gift women can give themselves. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. You can read, I learned through John Kabat-Zinn that does a lot of mindfulness work. And I feel like for a lot of people, we are so busy watching other people or worried about what's going to happen or what happened that we don't give ourselves the gift of the present.
I really appreciate how you made the link between intuition and gratitude because that's probably the first time I hear that. So thank you for that. And then the second question to everything you were describing. Usually when we start in this field, it's like very gradual and you start working with people one on one and then groups and then you think about retreats. So I love that you jumped onto retreats first thing, how courageous that is to follow the whisper and actually go for it. And the question is what's that relationship that I also feel is a little bit underrated and not that well understood between women's embodiment and our connection to our environment and nature?
So, our connection to nature for any human is so powerful, but particularly for women, I feel like a lot of women are filled up when they're in nature. So whether they're sitting on the beach or they're walking or they have their feet in the sand or on the grass, I think Mother Nature, Gaia, is here to support us and remind us that we are one with nature. And I think nature is such a powerful tool for any soul that is looking to ground, be present, and to connect in with the wisdom available to us.
Yeah, back to basics, right? And in this process of unbecoming the JJ you wear, or like shedding the layers and becoming the JJ you are right here, right now, what do you feel you had to let die?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Well, I just did work yesterday with my friend Corby, who does family constellations. And I think one of the things I'm still working on a decade later is often felt growing up that productivity would get me love. And one of the things that I've had to really work with is decoupling that story from my childhood that honestly, now that I'm in my 50s, I don't even think was real. But our inner child, our younger self, we create stories that we hold on to for decades. And I think one of the benefits of really meeting with energy workers like yourself, healers, mystics, is they can help you decouple things that are no longer serving you. And really detaching from the fact that I need to be productive to be loved has been a really big lesson for me. And I'm still working through it. So it's not like your journey ends. It's not like you're seeking, you get to a point and you're like, oh, okay, well, I did it. I feel like there's layer after
Mm.
layer. And I meet with several energy practitioners in a quarter, and each one brings different value to my journey. And they're people that I want to meet with because one, I want to learn about them and their gifts. And then I want to share them with people in my network so that they feel like they have trusted sources to connect with if they feel themselves at that crossroads, that they feel like, you know what, this is not working for me and I don't know where to turn.
And could you speak a little about the difference between approaching this from an entirely mindset based way, like mind based way, as opposed to energy and the body and all of you and the effect, the difference? How do you see that?
So, what I've learned is that we are all masculine and feminine energy, and society teaches us often to really lean into our masculine and sort of put our feminine knowing, connection, inner wisdom to the side because that's not productive. That's not going to get us over the finish line. But in reality, if you can activate the masculine and the feminine, you have your entire toolkit to work with. And I think for a lot of us, if we cannot logically make sense of it, we often don't allow that feminine to come through. And so you have to train yourself to trust the wisdom within. And I think for me, that has come a lot of different ways, but I actually feel like I am more powerful in the work that I'm doing because I allow the inner wisdom to come through. And then I use my masculine energy to activate the work around it. And I feel like if you if that is not brought to your attention, often you don't know that you have both sides to work with, and even though a lot of the feminine side has been turned off, you can activate it at any time to really create the work you wanna do in the world.
Mm, yeah. And when did things start to get good for you?
Well, I feel like each year brought a new level of knowing, a new level of confidence, a new level of enjoying myself, and I feel like each year has been better than the last. And I feel like 2026 is going to be super powerful for so many of us that have been doing the inner work because there's a lot of astrological things happening. And I love astrology. I love the birth chart. For me, the birth chart has been my can opener to self confidence because it has given me the confidence of the real work I'm supposed to do here. And so I spent a lot of time learning birth charts so I could share birth charts with other people as a tool, just like people use Myers Briggs or Strength Finders. Birth charts are an incredible tool to tell you like why you're here, what you're doing. And I follow astrology, and a lot of the outer planets are moving into new signs without retrogrades coming in 2026. So a lot of us that have been under transition for a long period, I think will become more settled for the next 20 to 30 years ahead. So I feel like each year gets better, but there is no end point per se.
I really love that point of you feel better now and like you keep increasingly feeling better in the present always as time goes by. I always say that women, when we work on ourselves, we're like great wine and we just get better and better as time passes by. And I can so see that in you. And that takes me to my next cue, which is what's something that feels hotter, healthier, or happier, or more you than ever before?
Saying yes to myself. I used to have a lot of guilt around doing this work, spending the money, carving out time for my family. And I would say that now I feel better and hotter and just more illuminated when
Yeah.
I carve out time to do the inner work.
Amazing, JJ. And if another woman is listening and feels like she's in this in between of perhaps not necessarily a corporate career, or maybe it's that, but very disconnected from herself and her purpose and resonates with your story, what would you want her to know?
Well, luckily, I put everything in books because I like to get all the I like to document my journey, and I love to share all the people and the books that I've read and the things that I do. So, this decade of journey of really going within, and I call it, my shift was really working from within because I had been working outside of my body for so many decades. So my book Seeking has not only all the inner work I had to do, but all of the practitioners and books I read to help me get through each of the stages that were necessary to illuminate my path ahead. And I had to do a lot of inner cleaning. I had to clean out a lot of closets. I had to remove a lot of different energies that I was storing from things that happened in second grade and in college and, in my dating life. I had a lot of things I had to get out of I call it my vessel, right? So I needed to clean my vessel out and allow myself to illuminate. And to illuminate, you need to have space to do that. And so for someone who's feeling like, I don't know where to start, I think my book Seeking is a great place to start. And I also have the podcast Together We Seek because I feel like we're all still seeking. You are on the podcast and you have shared your journey and your gifts. And I feel like I am working to share this network of resources available to us that we can explore our next step. And I feel like at any time, you really have to trust the wisdom within and whatever interests you, even if it makes you afraid, if it excites you, but you're afraid about it, leading excites you. So it's a class, it's a book, it's a conversation. Trust your body knows where to take you.
Trust your body knows where to take you. I know where we can find your podcast, JJ. When is your book out?
Yes. So Seeking is out. It's on Amazon now. And 74 key findings to raise your energy, sidestep your self doubt, and align with your life's work.
I love it. Thank you. And if this incredible chapter of your life of all the cleaning and letting your vessel be open and spacious, if that had a title, what would it be?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I feel like so many are here. We've chosen to be on the planet right now. And I feel like if you're hearing this podcast, you have chosen to be here, and there is a bigger role you are looking forward to playing, but you have to say, yes, you can to yourself first.
Yes, you can. Well, and with that, I would love to raise our glasses, cups, mugs, whatever it is that you have with you, because I find you so inspiring and thank you so much for sharing with me, with us. And yeah, I would love to toast to how good it got for you and to yes, you can.
Yes, you
Cheers.
can. Yes, you can. This is amazing.
Yes, you can.
This is amazing. It's amazing you've started this. It's amazing you're providing this journeys of so many women to the people listening because I think a lot of people feel so alone. And hearing
Mm,
the stories of women that have emerged, what has happened before they emerged is so powerful to remind women that they are not alone and that we are all here to work together.
exactly, because sometimes, just like you were saying, there are whispers, right? And sensations in your body that you cannot even put names, words to, but you feel there's something more and you sense your life is just like stuck, or maybe you need another direction and you just don't know. And sometimes just finding resonance in another story, that's everything. That
Yeah.
can be everything.
Well, I'm super excited for you. I love the title, Tell Me How Good It Got, because I feel like for so many of us, we need to see it before we can be it.
Absolutely. To know that yes, you can. And with that, any last words of wisdom or anything you would like to leave us with?
I just want to congratulate you and everyone listening because this is the first step to your next step and trust that there are no accidents and life is happening for you.
Life is happening for you always and with you. Love that so much. Thank you, JJ, for being here. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's stay connected.
Thanks for listening to Tell Me How Good It Got. Stay close for the next story because, yes, it really does get good.